Well, you know it's going to be a good night when you glance over at the live chat right before you go live, and the incoming message says "Golden Shower commencing." So that's our audience.
I think they have we might have the wrong episode then, if that's the case. We don't have allegedly Dave on tonight.
Nice. Hello, everyone. Yes, this is it's a different kind of shower, actually. Meteor showers, not golden showers. I'm sorry if you got the wrong indication, but don't worry. There's plenty of forums and places online where like-minded people such as yourself can get together and golden shower. So,
but not on Tumblr. But not on Tumblr. Tumblr's.
Oh yeah, we're gonna talk about that briefly, because that's a good point, Dave. But let's say hello to the lovely, the talented, I mean, it's just been a great year to be.
Tell them more about me.
Oh God.
Oh no,
Kirsten. I'm sorry, Kirsten.
Yes,
I apologize for my.
I was so excited there. I was all flattered.
We hear enough about Steve. Trust me, we hear enough about Steve. We're talking about you today. But I'm talking, or I'm pulling up here. I had it queued up. Where are you at? Okay, here we go. Just to give you a proper introduction, because you definitely deserve it. Now, Kirsten Banks is a proud Aboriginal with an intense passion for astronomy and science communication. Ever since a young girl, she's had her eyes locked to the skies, and she first formed her love for astrophysics in high school. Now in her fourth year as a physics student at the University of New Southern Wales, Kirsten jumps up at every opportunity to get involved with science and communication. She's appeared on many radios, shows such as ABC Mornings with Wendy Harmer, The Night Shift with Luke Bona on Triple M, as well as joining the television realm in NITV's The Point, and even a Japanese documentary about Indigenous astronomy. And that, of course, is from the article that just recently was put up about you online. I'll link to that as well, so you can check that out. But hello, Kirsten Banks. Welcome back.
Hello. Thanks for having me back. I'm so excited. We're finally getting this done.
Yes. I was telling Kirsten before the show, she actually is this month's. I was just looking at our analytics today, and her conversation with Debbie Duran is actually the #1 most watched video for this month. It's in terms of watch time and the minutes on there. People are watching Kirsten and Debbie Duran. It's the 4th video overall, so it's great to have you back. And do you miss Debbie? This is my main question for you. Do you miss Debbie?
Look, we had some really good conversations, and she really was a lovely woman. But look, the conversation and topic at hand, I do not miss that part of it.
It's I think you and I are the two only people that would ever say that Debbie's a lovely person. See, Steve's shaking his head over there like
I just can't. I can't go there. Yeah, it's mind-boggling to me. I mean, it's you like asking her. I mean, you guys made a great team together. Do you miss her? It's just like, why would anybody miss Debbie? I mean, she brought nothing. I didn't find her that entertaining. I know Kyle finds her entertaining. I particularly don't. I think she has issues.
I think she's great. I think she's.
I know you do. No, I'm serious. I know you do.
Actor. She's a method actor. That's my theory. She's a method actor. She's not for real.
Think she's schizophrenic.
I think this is a character. I think this is a character that she created, and one day we're going to see. Maybe. Remember when Joaquin Phoenix did that movie where he was like going crazy or whatever, and everybody was like, "Oh no, it's really him. He's going nuts." This is Debbie. Debbie does flat Earth. That's the name of this project.
Yeah, no, and again, you might be right, but I'm error on the side of caution. And I tell you this: if she is like a professional actress of some kind, she should win an Emmy. She's that good.
Yeah, I agree. So, Kirsten, do you know anything about Tumblr? I just want to briefly talk about. I want to acknowledge that since this is a thing in the news, I think it's important to talk about. But do you are you on Tumblr? Any?
I am actually no. That's a lie. I am technically on Tumblr. But it was for like a few months. I tried starting an astronomy blog, made maybe 3 posts, and got bored. So, but I am on things in terms of what's happening in the news with Tumblr. So,
Yeah, well, I didn't know that they did.
Contribute.
I didn't know they did astronomy things or science stuff on Tumblr. I didn't know they even had that you could do anything other. I just know it for something else. And this the one thing that they're taking away from Tumblr on December the 17th, I think. What do you think about that? What's your thoughts?
Well, I mean, they're just trying to make Tumblr cleaner, I guess. More, child friendly. Although then again, children shouldn't really have internet accounts for various platforms, I think. But I really have no comment.
I agree
on the whole thing.
I agree. I just wanted to say that to me, the reason that this is coming about, for those of you who don't know, Tumblr is a social media site. You can post nearly anything, and that it literally has everything. Most people use it for porn. I mean, if we're just going to be honest, most people use it for porn. But last week, Apple took them out of the iOS store because there were some images that were coming up on some of the blogs on Tumblr that had connections with child pornography. Some was actual child pornography. So the iOS took them off the App Store. And this is a response to that, I think, in a way to get back in. But my question is, if you're running this social media platform, and that the majority of the people that use your and I don't know that for sure. I could be completely wrong. I'm just going based on what I think in this case. I could be completely wrong, but it seems to me when they cut this off, they're going to lose more people than they than would have if they didn't. I mean, I think that's how many people use it for porn, but I could be completely wrong. So
am I that naive? Because I've had Twitter not Twitter. I've had Tumblr before, and I used it to post my blogs originally. I didn't know that they even hosted porn until recently. I had no idea. That's what Pornhub's for. What the hell do you need Tumblr? I kind of had Tumblr being a porn site.
They've been implicated. They've actually been implicated in child porn as the instrument for child porn, etc. Just stuff that has no business being in existence in the first place. So yeah, that's
do they have like lack of controls or something, or do they? I mean, most places they have like if people find something that's egregious, then they get reported and then it gets taken off. They don't have anything like that.
But because it has to do with the way it works, because it encourages resharing of pictures, and as long as the link is fresher than the delete gravestone in the system, it's going to sit there. You can try to find the source for a picture and you'll never find it, but you can download the picture and repost it with you as the source, and that's what a lot of these people do. It's very, very easy to have it tumbles the pictures forward, and if pictures happen to be porn, is that
why they call it Tumblr?
Yep.
Oh, right. Your thing made up.
Wait, what?
Oh, really? No, is that really true?
But anyways, I don't know if it may not be that's the case. I could be completely wrong. I just think that that is going to dramatically affect Tumblr. And Steve, when you're asking about why I use it for porn, this is mainly it's used for GIFs. GIF, if you're communist, I don't want to leave you guys out, but for those communists that are watching, GIFs.
No GIFs. No GIF. No, you can't. I can't do the GIF thing.
Anyways, do you want to talk about your anniversary today, Steve, and then before we jump into tonight's topic?
I do. I have an anniversary today that I'm very proud of. Today, as of December 5th, I am smoke-free for 3 years. It's been. I think it was a Sunday. It could have been a Saturday or Sunday. I don't remember. But I remember very distinctly. I didn't feel like going out to get smokes that night. It was kind of wet and cold, kind of like it is now. It's actually just got done raining. And I just didn't feel like going out. And the next day I was like, you know what? I really don't feel like getting smokes. And a couple days later, I was like, well, shit, maybe I just try to quit smoking. And I got to tell you, it was hell. Not because of so much the psychological withdrawals. I actually went through what was called smoker's flu, which is not a withdrawal symptom because the nicotine's already out of your system within like a day or something. But it's this weird thing that you go through where you get all the symptoms of the flu without a viral thing, and it was miserable. Don't ever want to go through it again. And after I went through all that for like 3 days, I was sick. I was like, oh, I'm never picking this habit up again. And I haven't touched a cigarette since. So tonight we're going to have a rum and coke night on my channel. It's going to be at 8 o'clock Pacific time. Everybody's invited. If you want a link to come join us, to come into the hangout, just message me on steveaskanything@gmail.com, on my DM account, or my Twitter account. You can DM me, G+ or Facebook, and everybody's invited. I'm streaming it, so the more the merrier. And I'm going to put the link in the live chat there, and it's also in the video description. So see you there.
I wouldn't have any hair if I didn't have, like, at the end of some of these shows, there's the one place that I look forward to. That's like my heaven for Christians.
Oh, I can't say I
Like,
don't miss it a little bit. I mean, I enjoyed that same feeling. Trust me, it's very soothing.
Yeah. And as far as the shows that we've got coming up, tomorrow, this guy has been going berserk on Twitter. Andrew Booth is just he's becoming unhinged, I think. He said last night that we weren't ready for him, that we weren't open enough, or he didn't use the word woke, some other word for woke, but he seems to
think
my
hallucinogenic friend?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So he'll be with us tomorrow. If you want to see a dumpster fire of dumpster fires, join us tomorrow. He is going to. I don't know what else to say about that.
Yeah, he's different.
And then on Friday, Destiny will be back to talk to a former strong atheist. Those were his words. You know me. I don't make a distinction, but he said he was a strong atheist, and now he's a Christian pastor. He will be here to have a discussion with Destiny on Friday, and that's going to be at 10. That's a later show, so just be aware of that. That's not at 8. It's going to be at 10 p.m.
Wait, did he go from atheist to pastor, or pastor to atheist?
Atheist to pastor. Strong atheist to pastor.
Oh, interesting. You don't see too many of those.
Yeah. And then on Saturday, we have at 8 o'clock, Team Skeptic and Ryan Casey. And then at 9:30, Fight the Flat Earth versus Flat Earth Jesus will be making his appearance. So everybody bring your flat crosses and your flat Bibles, and we'll have flat church that night. You know you want to be there, Kirsten. You know you want to be there.
Oh, I really want to be there. It sounds awesome.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and jump into it then. Do you want to take a second and let everybody reintroduce yourself and let everyone know what you do and why you do it and all that good stuff?
Sure thing. So I am Kirsten, known as AstroKirsten on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram too, actually. Basically, I just love to talk about space, guys. Seriously, if I'm having the worst day ever, I could go to work. I work at Sydney Observatory, where I take tour groups around, literally talk about space for a living, which is awesome. I could be having the worst day ever, and I could come to work, talk about space for a couple of hours, and it's like I've hit my reset switch. It is awesome. So I'm here today to talk to you guys about some meteorites. I have some in front of me here. And just a little update to my bio there, guys. I have officially graduated university. So I am officially a physicist. No longer a student.
Congrats.
I'm now the master. Not quite the master, but you get the point.
That's amazing. So where do you go from here? What's next?
Well, because I'm crazy, I am going back to uni next year. Next year, I'll be going to do a research year in the evolution of galaxies. Then hopefully after that, that'll kickstart me into a PhD. And then officially in 5 years' time, also, I will be Dr. Banks.
That is amazing. You are the next Neil deGrasse Tyson and Brian Cox, I believe.
We told her that. We already, that's already foreordained. That's you can't change that.
It is in the prophecy. It will happen, especially if I have anything to do
It
with
has
it.
been foretold.
I just want to. I want to address this controversy before we go any further, because somebody in the live chat said that they're trying to expose you. They said that you were fake. You were on a sound stage. It's a fellow Australian. They say that Australia, everyone knows that place does not exist. So how do you answer that, Kirsten? Everyone knows Australia isn't a place.
Well, I mean, I'm looking at it. I'm sitting in a chair.
Okay, that's good
in
enough.
An apartment block in Australia. So
Well, yeah, but they're paying you
mean-
to say that. That's the narrative. All the people in Australia are actually sitting in Britain right now, getting paid from some loft to say that they're actually in Australia.
That's a good gig. That's
I
a good
cannot
gig.
confirm nor
Yeah.
deny that, Steve.
Oh, nice.
That's
Leave
the
a
smart
little.
answer.
Leave
They
a
do
little.
listen. Yeah,
Yeah. Leave a little room.
yeah, they're listening in right now. So
I just have a script here that I'm reading off to say all the right things. Yeah.
So when do you start your next program at university? Do you have some time off? Or are you taking like a little break?
I do have some time off. I've actually been taking pretty much the last 3 to 4 months off. I'm going back in February. Having said that, having time off, I'm still very busy. Like I'm at schools every week talking about space. I had some really fun times at some primary schools in Sydney this last few weeks. We made a scale model of the solar system where the sun was the size of a $2 coin, which I don't have it, maybe about this size, maybe a bit smaller. And we made the sun to be that size, and each kid would come around and be a planet. And they were so surprised about how big the solar system actually is, which was awesome. It was so cool to see the excitement on their little faces.
She's such the perfect science communicator, I think. You know what you need, Kirsten? You need your own channel.
I've been thinking about it recently, actually, that I should start to
you
do.
said, didn't you say last time once you got out of school you would? Yeah, didn't you say after you finished school you would consider that? I think I remember something along those lines.
Possibly, that sounds like something I would say, and I have been considering it over these last few weeks, and few months as well. But I don't know, man.
Totally should.
We'll see. We'll see.
Totally should.
Definitely.
Okay, so let's go through. Take us through meteors. What are they? Are there different types? How do they keep the from destroying the planet? All that good stuff.
All right. So, a meteor can be one of 3 things. Okay, can you have a meteoroid, a meteor, or a meteorite? Okay, so essentially, meteors are space rocks. It could also be space junk, but we'll just deal with space rocks for now because that's all I have here. So they're essentially little space rocks that come from outer space. They can look like this. There we go, a little bit of space rock there. So this little one landed in Argentina about 4,500 years ago. It's nice and shiny, a nice little luster about it. So this one is made of mostly nickel and iron. Mostly iron, little bits, traces of nickel and other things. So when this is in space, it's called a meteoroid. When it's flying through our atmosphere and burning up, you see a shooting star, that's called a meteor. And then when it lands on the ground, then it's a meteorite, compared to a meteorong like this one. So this meteorong, this one is a tektite. So it came from Tasmania in the maybe existent, non-existent Australia. It is a piece of Earth rock that has been blasted into space and then come back down to Earth. So technically Earth rock, but has been to space and has come back. I have more here.
What kind of impact does it have to, like, do you have to have for rocks that are on the Earth to be flung into space and then come back down? Like, what size of a impact are we looking at there?
Well, I mean, it depends on how far the rock goes out, right? Because we have this thing called the escape velocity. Excuse me. So which is about 11,000-ish kilometers per hour. So that's the velocity that you need to actually escape the Earth's gravity. So if this little rock had more than that, or that actual velocity as it was blasted out, then it would never have landed back down on Earth. But because it had less than that, it was enough to go out of the atmosphere and then eventually come back down.
Wow. And how far out do you think it goes before it came back down?
Oh, I'm not sure. It's hard to say. Depends on how, what the velocity was when it went out. But
that's amazing.
The fun part about telling the difference between what I like to write and a meteorong, where a meteorong is using a magnet. So I have this little bit here. It says caution magnetic, because I deal with some pretty awesome stuff. So Here's another little meteorite that I have. This one landed in Sweden. It's got some nice little shiny elements to it, bit of a crisscross pattern on it. That's because of what it's made of. And I'm going to make it come out of my hand without touching it, only using the magnet. All right, are we ready? Here we go. There it is.
Wow. So what's in it that's making it magnetic like that?
So inside these 3 meteorites, so meteorites are made of mostly iron, which is a ferromagnetic material, which essentially, what that means is, imagine on the side of this little rock is a bunch of little tiny compass needles that are all pointing in random directions. So these are little tiny magnetic vectors, if you will, okay, little compass needles. Once you apply a magnetic field to it, it then makes all the little compass needles inside of that line up in the direction of the magnetic field that you applied to it, which then in turn creates an even stronger magnetic field inside of the rock. But once
So what do you do if
it
it's a
goes
stony
back to
meteorite?
being non-magnetic.
What do you do if it's not an iron or a stone iron? What do you do if it's a stony meteorite?
Then it doesn't do
Just
anything.
won't work. Yeah, that just won't work.
It just won't work.
Are there any elements in meteors or anything that you have there that's not found here on Earth?
I don't believe so. So let's go through them one by one. So this one landed in Central Australia. You can see it's kind of reddish. I'm not sure if you can see that on the camera there. A little bit red. And the inside, so that's from the iron oxide. A little bit. So this one, most amount of iron, has a bit of cobalt in it as well, and nickel, all found on Earth. This one, also mostly iron, a little bit of cobalt, a little bit of nickel, and sulfur as well, all found on Earth. This one, so this one's a very special one. It's actually one of only 40 pieces that ever fell down to Earth. It's a rare meteorite as well. This one has mostly iron, but also has germanium and gallium in it. So it's the germanium and gallium that link in with iron that give it its little crisscrossy shape, pattern to it. So how the atoms stack up together. So
That's
they're all pretty
badass.
much, it's like we find most of this stuff on Earth as well, yeah.
Any ideas of where or what they came from?
Where and what they came from? The one from Argentina, this one, came from a much larger asteroidy meteorite thing, but where they came from in the solar system, probably the asteroid belt, maybe. That's my best guess. Apparently, you can actually date them and find out where they came from. It's so cool.
Is it not so much like I don't think we're ever going to find something that's not normally what we'd find on Earth, or at least natural, right? We're not going to find like element 142 or something, right? But isn't it more the amount of mixtures, the ratio of these things all together, where we determine whether from Mars, from the moon, or from extrasolar? Whether we look at if it has amino acids in it, we look at if it's chondrite, we look at the ratios of one to the other, and we go, it can't be from this solar system because it only has a certain amount of ratios. Is that how they determine if it's like from like some other part of the universe outside of our solar system?
Yes, that's definitely a way to determine. So that's what they did with the moon rocks that the Apollo team brought back, because every planet in our solar system, especially the rocky ones, for example, they have a very particular, I forget which isotopes they are, but I think it's carbon-14 to carbon-15 or 13 maybe. This ratio of these isotopes. Each one has a particular ratio. So it's like different, their carbon fingerprint for each planet. So we can determine if it came from Mars or where it may have come from in the solar system or the universe. But I'm more or less pretty certain that these all came from our solar system.
Are you, Steve, I just want to ask you a question real quick. Are you saying that you don't think that there's an element out there that maybe we haven't discovered yet, or are you saying that there's no way to know?
Well, I mean, there's a hard cap on the amount of elements they can have. There's actually a limit based upon quantum of what you can actually have due to relativistic velocities of the orbitals of the electrons. Correct? If Kirsten wants to correct that on me, but I don't think there's anything that we can find that would not be something that we would expect to be completely different from the baryonic matter that we have. I mean, it'd be fascinating. I mean, if we found something that would be like, okay, a new type of atom that is not comprised of the normal proton-neutron consistency we would expect, yeah, that would be amazing. But I don't think that we're ever going to find
That'd be
anything like
super
that.
cool.
But I think Freeman said that the limit is like element 134, and I'm guessing you might remember, but because of the fact that you're relative,
118 at the moment.
yeah, but the maximum
A little
theoretical
topic.
because of the relativistic velocities of the orbitals, you have a limitation there, and you'd be getting faster than c, so you can't have certain
That makes
limit
sense.
of
Yeah.
elements. But I don't remember what it was. I think it's 134, but people can look it up and tell me.
Are there any, somebody in the live chat wants to know, are there any rocks in the collection that are older than this planet?
No. None older than the planet itself. So these have all landed. Well, actually, hold on. Sorry. I realize the question now. They could definitely potentially be older than the planet, but not by much. Because these little rocky parts could have been formed during the formation of our solar system. That they all come from our solar system, which we are going to assume now. But assuming that they're not from our solar system, they could definitely be older than the Earth.
Gotcha. So, in a broader sense, why don't you kind of take us through what it constitutes to be a meteor? Because there are things like asteroids, comets. What are the difference between all of those things that are, they're flying through space?
Wonderful. So, great question, because myself and my co-host of a podcast that we have called the Scientists, I come up with the name. It's great. We just talked about comets and asteroids. Yeah,
you have a podcast? Why did you?
It's a podcast.
I feel offended that I was not told. What's the name of it?
Scientists. It's like scientists.
Scientist.
Sky.
That's clever.
Because we study the sky. Thank you. Thank you. That was the name of my Tumblr blog as well when I started it, and then didn't continue.
See, it comes full circle.
It comes full circle. That's right. Yep. Right. Yes. So comets are like dirty snowballs in space. So they come from this thing called the Oort cloud, which we believe to exist. We haven't observed it before, but it's this cloudly thing that sits around our solar system. And this appears to be where most comets come from when we see them come close to our sun. So because it's a bit of a dirty snowball, when they come close to the sun, they melt. And so you see these two tails coming off of a comet. One is the ionization tail. So you can see the atmosphere of the comet being ionized by the solar wind. So it always goes in the opposite direction of where the sun is compared to if the sun's here, the comet's here, the ionizing tail will go this way, away from the sun. But you also have the dust tail, which is following the direction of its path. And when the Earth moves through the dust tail, that's when we get a meteor shower. That's when we can get a meteor shower. So most meteor showers actually do come from the debris field of other comets passing close to the sun.
That is cool. There was a big in the early 1900s, a big scare with Halley's Comet, because back then people thought, and I thought this was amazing, but they thought that because the Earth was going to be passing through the tail of Halley's Comet, that there was some that would be toxic, and it would
yeah, I remember that.
It would kill everyone on Earth. So that's when snake oil salesmen really kind of blew up, because they were selling all of these different like face masks that you could wear to keep from inhaling the comet dust, or oils and remedies that you could take to guard yourself against. And then when they passed through, nothing happened.
What?
Nothing.
Yeah, well,
That's
I mean, we probably
hilarious.
probably had a good meteor shower, but I looked it up. It's element 137 because I was really not remembering stuff. It was element 137 was the max. But yeah,
there wasn't even a meteor shower. None of that happened. It didn't do anything.
That would be the most it would be. That's what a meteor shower normally is you're passing through the tail, or the remnants of a comet has long
Didn't even
going
happen.
by, and
Never happened
behind. That's kind of what a meteor shower is.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
I saw hail bomb. I didn't see Halley, but I did see a hail bomb.
Soon, the Geminids meteor shower, which actually comes from a well, they technically call it a rock comet, but it's an asteroid that has a comet-like orbit. So maybe it used to be a comet, and now the nucleus of the comet is only the thing that's left over, so all the ice is melted. But I think it's called Phaethon 3200. It's this rock comet that orbits around the sun and leaves a debris during our go through December. So in about a week's time, we'll have a very nice meteor shower. It's known as the king of meteor showers. It has like up to 120 meteors per hour during the peak period, which is
And when is
the
this?
14th to the 15th. 14th and 15th of December. So literally a week from today.
So how come
Well,
it's
that's
been
awesome.
so
I know
long
you're
since we had like a meteor storm? I mean, when's the last time we had a huge meteor storm? Was it like the 1800s, or like a comet that was so huge that you could see it, at even in the daytime, that was taking up, like 10 degrees in the celestial sphere?
Oumuamua.
Why don't we don't see a lot of that? I mean, I've never in my lifetime, in 50 years, I haven't seen a meteor storm or a comet of that nature. Hale-Bopp was pretty small. It looked like a fuzzy little cloud,
Yeah, well, apparently, and I'm so mad about this, there was a really good comet. Wait, was Hale-Bopp in 2007?
It was
Earlier.
Yeah, something along those lines. I know. Well, no, because it had to be in the 90s because I was living in Utah at the
That's
time when I
right,
saw
yeah.
it.
There were a couple comets in the 90s, though. It wasn't just Hale-Bopp. There was one before it, too.
Mm.
Yeah, 1995.
Anyway,
Yeah,
moral
that was
story.
Hale-Bopp. That makes sense because in the middle of in the 90s, I was in Utah.
Hell
Yeah,
wobble.
well, I was born in 1997, so I missed all of those. I'm so mad about it. But apparently there was another one in
Wow.
2007, which was huge. Like, if you wanted to get a photo of this thing, you needed to take a photo from the southern hemisphere, then go to the northern hemisphere, take another photo, and stitch them together. That's how big this thing was. And then there
CGI.
was a huge meteor shower after that. CGI.
Well, there was
Yeah,
that one that was
I'm
supposed
sorry.
to be. There
The
was,
southern hemisphere in Australia doesn't exist.
they were
That's right.
planning for it for months. They were like, "This is going to be the comet of a lifetime. It's huge. It's going to be great. It's going to be spectacular." Got around the sun, and it disintegrated, and so we didn't see it.
Yeah.
I can't remember
Well,
the
I
name
mean,
of it, but I was very
if you want to hear more
disappointed.
about it, go to our most recent Scientist episode, and you'll hear all about it.
See, look at you. You're already getting the hang of the plugs and the shielding.
Just
Where can
down.
people find where
you-
can people find your podcast?
Oh yeah. You can find it on Spotify. You can also get it on Player FM. Like we're on SoundCloud too. Like basically most podcast. I'm starting to talk like you guys now. Most podcast platforms.
Excellent. I bet it's so cool. I cannot believe that I didn't know that you did a podcast already. I'll link it too in the description, guys, after the show. So if you're watching this later on, you'll be able to just click down below and it'll take you straight to it. How many episodes are you at right now?
I think we're at episode 16. We're going to record that on Monday
What?
or Sunday, your time. Yeah.
This is so
Time to
cool.
binge
Well,
listen.
we had a full
listen.
we had a full
Yep.
season of 12 episodes last year, but then my co-host got really unwell, and so we had a rather long hiatus, but we're back. So we're back.
Excellent.
Well, we
Well,
just
so
did, we
I
just did
mentioned-
our 100th one, by the way. Just to, I don't know if you even know that, Kyle. We literally just did the 100th episode for our podcast.
Oh, well, so we're at the 100th on the podcast, and right now, we're on track to do 365 videos by the 31st of December.
That's
Right
a
now
lot.
we are
Well, that's
on
awesome.
yeah. That's a video, or that's an episode a day for a year. Not even TV shows give you that. We literally, Steve. What's wrong with us?
Yeah, and we also on the podcast. But a lot of people don't even know we take these and make them to a podcast, even though we have advertisement for Stitcher and everything. But I think we're just a little bit shy of 300,000 downloads in less than a year. So over 250,000 downloads
Wow.
on iTunes. That's a lot for
Wow.
iTunes.
That's awesome.
Most podcasts get about 10 to 20 an episode. We're averaging 3,000.
Nice.
So what is I mentioned it a second ago. What is Oumuamua?
Okay, well, let's get one thing straight. It is not an alien spaceship.
Damn it!
Ah,
Damn, I'm done. Forget it.
What?
Never mind. Whatever. You've crushed my expectations and my hopes and my dreams. Ah, damn it. Whatever. I'm okay.
I'm not sorry. I'm really not sorry. No, it is definitely not from our solar system. I know that for sure. But it is not an alien spacecraft. It does not have anything to do with aliens.
How much are they paying you to
Not
say this?
Alien.
Are you sure?
No one's paying me.
All right, so
No,
okay,
seriously,
so that's
so
fine.
it's-
But what is okay? It does have like 10 times the reflectivity of a normal asteroid or comet. So it is a highly reflective surface, and it has a highly elongated shape and a weird orbit going through the solar system. So all these things combined, what was it from then, and what caused it to have these so much of differences from everything we've seen before of similar type of asteroids, or if it is a comet or whatever the hell it is?
Well, so that's the thing, right? It's not come from our own solar system, so we don't really know exactly how it formed, what's going on, why it is like this, because it's completely, for lack of a better word, it is completely alien to us. Like it is a
She said it. She said it. Aliens. We knew it.
It's not aliens though.
Oh,
A
alien
little
to
green
us.
men or anything
Yeah.
like that. It's just a rock from another solar system. But
Yeah, you know
yeah,
what? They're
no,
they're
we
on. They're listening in on that, and they're going, "We fooled them." Those little alien
Is there
creatures.
any guesses as to where it's from, like what system it's from?
I would have no clue. I have no idea about the trajectory.
I think they did pinpoint the
where it came
origin.
from.
Yeah, I think they did actually, but I don't remember what it
Or at
was.
least the direction of where it came from.
Yeah,
I'm
directionality.
sure they would definitely know that by now.
Yeah, because it's let's see right here. Star should not have discovered this or any other stellar rock. Let me see. It originated from a very special frame of reference, which says that it's by. This doesn't tell me anything. I'll look at. Yeah, I was trying to see if I could find out in real
Seriously,
time
they're
right now, but
trying to
there's just
cover up.
there's too much to read. Yeah, but I remember reading something where it's like it was moving almost too fast. Is that a thing with it? It was moving at a just an unbelievable amount of speed to be just kind of moving through space without being, hit or because of an impact thrown out of its normal orbit. Is that a thing? Or did I?
Could be a thing. I mean, it's unlikely for things to crash in space. There's a lot of space in space, right? That's why we call it space.
Right.
So,
Wow.
honestly, don't know.
That's
I know,
what
right?
that makes a lot
I
of sense
said that
now.
line so many times. I love it. So much space. In
Weird
Love
how that
space.
space and
works.
space. Yeah. Well, let me ask you this: what would have been some ways that they had determined if it was actually not just of like alien origin, as far as like not being from our solar system, but if it was intelligently guided, something like if it changed a vector in like almost instantaneously, something that we would not expect, or if it had a transmission signal. What things would they look for to determine if it was literally something like a probe from another civilization?
Probably look for some sort of radio signal from it. That would be my first guess. But then again, like we
And they
have no
detected
idea
zip.
if it happened to be very important word there, if it happened to be an alien civilization or come from an alien civilization, like
If
who's to say that they have a completely different type of communication system?
Well, I mean, but
So-
radio still is radio, right? I mean, it doesn't matter whether they're alien or humans. If they're going to communicate by radio, radio waves are going to be the same thing, right?
Oh
They
yeah,
don't get a special
of
kind
course, of course.
radio
But
wave
what
if
if
it's alien,
they
right?
just
But
didn't communicate by radio? They could just
we
not
we tried
communicate by
doing that
radio.
one night. We tried to determine what it would be like if an alien civilization, completely different from ours, developed electronics independently of us. What would it have been like? Because think about it, the laws have to be the same, right? But obviously the dexterity is going to be
Yeah.
different. They're going to have like the digital
Or
manipulations we
do
have.
they?
But I mean, you still have
I mean,
resistors,
yes.
capacitors. I mean, you still have certain fundamental things of electronics. So how would they build a radio that would be so much different than what we have? I don't know what that would mean, right?
Real quick,
Because coil to coil,
Kirsten,
right?
just to let me interject here. This right here says that if the comet came from a typical star, it must have been ejected with an unusually large velocity kick. To make things more unusual, its kick should have been equal and opposite to the velocity of its parent star relative to the LSR, which is about 20 kilometers per second for a typical star like the sun. The dynamical origin of this comet is extremely rare no matter how you look at it. So it's basically saying that it could have, well, It could have originated from a breakup into pieces because such an event would have provided a single impulsive kick. If cometary outgassing is ruled out and the inferred excess force is real, only one possibility remains. There was an extra push due to radiation pressure from the sun. So that's their theory about the speed on that.
Okay.
Why it's moving so quickly. Okay.
It's definitely mind-boggling. That's part of it.
It is. Yeah, it's a lot to wrap your mind around. But I was just sitting here thinking, is space really called space because of all that space, or is that space really filled with things like dark matter? Would that count? And if that's the case, then there is no room in space.
I mean, well, in terms of baryonic matter that we know of, I think this excludes dark matter. But they say there's about, and if someone can Google it and correct me if I'm wrong, please do. But I think it's like a very small amount of atoms per cubic meter exist in space on average. So space is quite empty compared to the atmosphere that we live in right now, let's say.
What is dark matter?
Good question. Don't know. We honestly don't know.
Well, okay. Do you think it's more likely to be? Well, it's a placeholder more than anything. But we don't know if it's baryonic or non-baryonic. But what dark matter is basically, we know that there's gravity effects on galaxies, right? We can actually see gravitational effects. Now we only know of what can cause gravity to be mass, right? That's the only thing we've ever seen cause gravitational deformation in the space-time. So what do we think is causing the gravity? Well, it has to be some form of mass, but we're not seeing anything. We're not seeing any light from it. It is dark. There's no photons being emitted from whatever it is to us. So therefore, we're seeing this dark matter. That's why it's called dark matter. We don't know what it is. We have no idea, but we know that's there. We can measure it. We can say that it has this much concentration in this area because of the gravitational effects it has on the surrounding. But
we can't actually, we can't capture it. We can't detect it. We can't, like they've actually tried to detect it by several means, and they've spent billions of dollars on trying just to detect it.
Yeah, somebody put in the live chat.
It's probably NASA hoax. I mean, NASA
they probably
hoax.
think it's what's called weakly interactive massive particles, which is WIMPs, and these particles don't interact with matter much. But there's a couple different things that possibly could be. But you're talking about space. That what is space to a scientist? Does it mean that there's no matter? Does it mean there's no fields? Does it mean it's empty, complete, nihilo, nothing, zip, zero? When you say space, there's always going to be something in it. There's like one proton per every cubic centimeter. So there's something in it, and there's also fields, right? And you also have like Higgs field that's ubiquitous everywhere. So when they say it's like a vacuum and it's empty space, what does it mean to you?
Well, I mean, it's as much as a vacuum as we can create on Earth. So like a vacuum being as much as the absence of matter. Of course, there's going to be fields. Like gravity exists everywhere. Gravity is only zero at an infinite distance. So there's always going to be gravitational fields everywhere. There's always going to be some sort of electric field, magnetic fields, other like Higgs field you mentioned as well. There's always going to be something there, but it's not necessarily going to be matter. So I don't know. But in my opinion, space is just all around us. Space equals the universe.
And you mentioned something that's mind-boggling, that gravity is only zero at an infinite distance, meaning that you personally have an effect on every object in the entire universe. Everything that's in the universe, you have some kind of effect on, because gravity travels an infinite distance. Now it's negligible, but gravity is literally universal. So think about that.
Yep. It's awesome. I am an almighty God. I have influence on everything.
I'm affecting the universe right now. If I spin Mach principle, the universe is spinning around faster than the speed of light because of the Mach principle. So if I just, well, never mind.
VMix, this channel called Vsauce.
I love Vsauce.
He's amazing. He did an experiment where in San Francisco, he gathered together. I forget the total amount of people, but it was this crazy amount of people together. And the theory was, if you could get them all in one area to jump, it would change the speed and the speed of how fast the Earth is spinning, because the gravity is all of a sudden not on the planet. So when they come back down, it will go back to normal. And he broke it down into, I mean, it was like a 0.00000000000, but it was still a measurable change. And I just thought that was really cool. But yeah, Vsauce, if you guys, what?
I was gonna say when there's a sizable earthquake, the same thing. It can actually change the rotational speed of the Earth.
It was fascinating. But yeah,
well, like with the precession of the Earth too, negligibly rather.
Right. Vsauce is amazing.
Yeah, but he hasn't really done much in a while.
Yeah, he's on Dong now. His new channel is called Dong.
Oh, is it? Because his other channel I didn't see much from him.
Yeah, it's Do Online. It's like I just had a little
breathe.
A little stroke there. Do Online now, guys. Don't you hate it when you're you get stuck in that, like, yeah, Do On. It's an unfortunate name. It's an unfortunate name. Dong. Like, what channel do you
really
do you?
Is. I wasn't sure if you actually said Dong or not. I'm like, is he serious right now? But apparently,
yeah, he's nice. Yeah, he's serious. It's Do Online now, guys.
People said, I mean, I've had ding dong since I was a kid. It's not a euphemism for something, okay?
Yeah.
You guys didn't have ding dong? Really? Oh, man. I'm so old. Really? You never had ding dongs? Okay, how about chocodiles? Did you ever have a chocodile?
Chocodile?
Oh my God.
I've heard of a logadile.
You haven't lived unless you had a chocodile. No, a chocodile is a Twinkie dipped in chocolate, and you freeze it, and they're amazing.
Oh,
wow,
okay.
So good.
Wow.
I thought it had some sort of relation.
Do you know anything about the poles shifting? Are you familiar with that? Like, because it's something that people are talking about a little bit. What would happen if the poles switch? Would we all perish, or will it just not be a thing we notice?
Now let's be a bit more specific here. You're talking about the magnetic poles of the Earth, right? Yeah, okay. So you're not thinking that the Earth is just going to spontaneously flip?
No. He's not talking about a full Earth reversal, just the magnetic pole reversal.
No. That would be catastrophic.
That would be bad.
Definitely. That would be awesomely terrifying.
Something flips us right around.
Yeah. I mean, with the okay, sorry, words are not coming to me right now. With the magnetic poles of the Earth, they're moving all the time. Like, you can actually see the path that they trace out when they move around. They don't always stay in the same spot. If we had a flip, I've heard a little bit here and there. I'm not the expert to say too much on it. So if you want to learn more, please do go and do your own research. There's articles everywhere. But it wouldn't have much of an effect on humans. Our compass needles would point in opposite directions. But to be fair, the north needle on your on your compass, like the red one points to north, right? But that's actually the south pole of your magnet inside your compass needle pointing to the north pole of the Earth. So it's actually a south pole pointing south, but to the north pole. Anyway, that's
but like you said, it wouldn't be catastrophic, right? I mean, as you said, you can actually see the movement.
The only problem that I think it would have would be on like birds and other sort of animals that rely on the magnetic.
Yeah, that was my next question.
Navigate.
Navigation, definitely navigation. I think it would probably have an effect, maybe temporarily, on communications. It might affect transformers, because we might have we have a streaming charged particles coming from the sun, right?
Not Bumblebee.
So wouldn't that have? So things that are electronics might be messed up for a while. But this is bound to happen. It happens every couple 100,000 years. You can see that it's reversing now because of the dynamo effect in the core, because it's an iron core and it's going to shift. So what? I mean, it's people again. This goes back to the snake oil salesman stuff that people push. For this going to be a catastrophic events. We manage.
Kirsten, can you refresh your browser real quick? Your camera is frozen.
But it's so lovely. She's stuck in this like pleasant smile. Just Could have been worse.
I'm gonna refresh. Hopefully, I don't.
Okay. Well, you'll be able to pop right back in before you notice. Yeah, I hate that's going to affect the Transformers. The last one was actually good. Optimus Prime, I love.
Was that the one with the he was like a warrior?
Alright, I'm back. Are we good?
and
Yes,
no.
we're good.
Oh, yeah,
We're
we're good.
good?
Yeah,
Okay,
you're moving.
We're not good.
No, good. We're good.
Yeah, that was my only question about the magnetic poles, though, because with birds and bats, dolphins, they all use that that field to be able to tell where to go and what season, and if it's flipped, does that mean the birds will be going and snowing it up for the week, like skiing instead of land?
I had no idea, but like if it
Well, they've
happens, we'll see
adapted in
what
the
happens.
past, so I'm sure they'll adapt again, right? I mean, like I said, these
Yeah,
these things
exactly.
have happened before.
We hope. So, what's your what other things do you talk about on Scientists? Let's dive into what your show's about and what it covers.
Well, we talk about anything in relation to space and the universe, really. Like we're an astronomy podcast. We have talked about asteroids. We're going to have our next episode will be on Mars, which will be good fun. I'm looking forward to it. What else have we done? We've talked about a lot of things.
Would you go to Mars? Would you go to Mars right now if
question.
they said, "Hey, we're going to take you and we're going to stick you on Mars"? Now, granted, we're going to give you provisions and not let you die of suffocation and everything else. But would you like take a trip to Mars and live there for a while? Really? I'd be like, no, hell no.
I mean, if I could come back, maybe, but it's never really interested me. Like the most space travel I would happily do would be a trip around the Earth or a trip to the moon or around the moon so I could watch an Earth rise because, oh my goodness, that photo from the Apollo 8 is now 50 years old this year. That iconic photo where you see the moon and then the Earth is just coming up and oh, it's beautiful. I want to see that. If I get a chance to see that, I will happily get on a rocket ship and go see that.
Could you see Earth from like I know you can see it because you can see Mars from here, but I mean, would you be able to see it without using a a telescope? Would it be like visible in the night sky to our naked eyes?
Yes, definitely be visible. You won't see any detail unless you use a telescope, but it will definitely be visible. Maybe even the moon too, possibly.
Oh, cool! That's awesome. Do you what do you think about our plans to get there? When is that going to happen? You think?
Look, there have been different dates put out there. Apparently, 2030 is the current date thing. But then again, I saw a post on Twitter the other day talking about how Richard Branson wants to send people to the commercially send people to the moon before Christmas. I'm like, what?
Whoa!
How?
So as like a Christmas present, we're going to send out. We're going to send Grandma to the moon.
Yeah, like I would understand the sentiment if
I guess
he was just saying, "Oh, look, I'm going to send people to the moon sometime," but before Christmas, like, come on, be realistic.
Hey,
seriously.
Good on him.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you're going to make some money off of it too, I say go for it, right?
Yeah.
Make it a commercial enterprise. But how do you, if we're gonna send people to the moon? I mean, not the moon, Mars. One of the biggest problems from Mars is Mars has a very oxidizing type soil. It has perchlorates in it, which is chlorine with this four oxygen atoms. So it's highly oxidated. So how are we going to get around that? Because that's to me was the biggest problem of landing on the or living on the Mars would be the fact that unless everything is made out of this plastic type something that's not going to be oxidized, you can't have any metal. I mean,
you can have some metal.
Well, I mean, you have some, but it's going to oxidize eventually. I mean, nothing's going to last a very long time on Mars because of that.
Of course. Yeah. But I mean, if you've made everything out of platinum, it should work for a little while.
Oh, there you go. Just make it out of platinum. There you go. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Yeah. There's an interesting theory or an idea. I was watching a TED talk on it the other day, and it was fascinating. But one guy suggests that eventually you can terraform Mars to create Earth, an Earth-like planet, by setting up these almost industrial planets. That all it does is pump out chemicals into the atmosphere. That's all it does. It's just churning out all of these different chemicals, and eventually that gets trapped. And what will happen is the process, kind of like what happened with Earth. Now it will take several thousand years, but eventually he says that we can have Earth on Mars. How likely is that?
I mean, it's a nice little plan, but the major problem is that Mars doesn't have as strong of a magnetic field as the Earth does. And the magnetic field about Earth protects us from deadly solar wind that blows away most of the atmosphere on Mars. That's why Mars has a very thin atmosphere, because the solar wind is literally blowing away most of the stuff. We'd get sunburn for days, and it just would not be pleasant at all. So I've heard a theory that they could put up some sort of, not a solar sail, but a sort of solar shield in front of Mars, between Mars and the sun, to kind of shield us from that solar wind. And then the terraforming can occur, like pumping out chemicals into the atmosphere. But that's the major problem. It's the sun.
It's amazing that we're able. We've gotten to the point where we're able to alter planets and create an entire world how we want. Like how do we
It's like
something
Superman,
about it?
but real life.
Yeah,
I mean, we'll be a level 1 civilization one of these days.
We evolved from.
Wait, are they coming after Kirsten? Are they like the sirens? Are they trying to get?
Are you
targeted?
Near a hospital? No, I'm good. I've said all the right
Okay.
things, so no one's coming after
if you have an arrest warrant, you need to go take care of it
hospital.
or something. Okay.
No, we're good. I live near a hospital, so there's ambulances going by here all the time.
We say that because
sirens, so.
Because the last time we had someone from Down Under on the show, he actually the interview was stopped in the middle of it because the police came to the door to get his guns. Yeah,
and he recorded it
live on the show. Yeah, he took his camera after he had to hang up with us. He took his camera and recorded the entire confrontation. So you can actually watch both of those videos on our channel. The police,
a lot of people are like, this guy's just paranoid, and at the same time, the police are literally at his house, and
they thought we were lying.
Awesome. It was just, wow.
That we're lying. Yeah, they're like, this guy's just paranoid.
Nope. It was true. So
he took his guns away.
With
BB gun too. His son's BB gun. He took his son's BB gun. How messed up is that?
The only thing I have in here that's like weapon-like is this thing. But it's like
she's a scientist. She probably has a nuclear weapon.
My brother gave me this for my 10th birthday. So I just have
this.
That's
badass.
Actually. Damn. Yeah, is that actually is that sharp? I mean, is that?
No, it's like really thick, not sharp at all.
It's like
I mean,
that's
it's fine.
That's badass.
It'll still do some damage, maybe.
Of course,
there's also a theory.
Can do damage, no matter how sharp or blunt it is.
Let's sort of talk about now the most interesting thing that I think about space, and that is the possibility. Let's go with aliens, but let's talk about the possibility that there is actual life out in not only in our universe but in our solar system. Like, what do you think the chances of us finding? And there's several different options. You have, maybe in Mars, the water that still exists on Mars. There's Europa, that ice planet, or moon. I'm sorry, the moon that they're wanting to build. Like, I believe it's a submarine that they want to shoot down into Europa and explore that. Do you think that it is likely that we will find some form of life in our lifetime?
I hope so, for sure. I definitely hope so. There's a chance, I think, because at least for the mantra of astrobiologists, follow the water, that's where the life is, because all life that as we know it, requires water to survive. So if there's some form of water, liquid water, somewhere in the solar system, then there's probably something there. In terms of Europa, we haven't actually confirmed yet that there is water beneath its icy surface. The place where we have confirmed that there is definitely water is on Saturn's moon, Enceladus, where they've actually, Cassini was able to fly through these geysers that were like gushing out water. Gushing is an awful word. Spilling out water. And it was able to fly through those geysers and actually measure the water content in it. And it's 100% confirmed that Enceladus has water beneath its icy surface.
What do you think something about like Proxima B? I mean, it's only like 4.2 light years away. It's in a Goldilocks type zone. I mean, yeah, it's going to be. I heard it has high X-rays and high heat compared to Earth, but definitely within livable conditions for life. And that's not that far away. And recently, I think it was a What If episode we were doing. We were talking about what we would if we can send nanoprobes, but at very high velocity to Alpha Centauri. We could do it in a lifetime easily.
Starshot.
Couldn't they go Starshot? Yeah, Project Starshot. Starshot. Yeah, you guys have affected me. Now I can't speak. Starshot. Damn it. Now I've got it. It's like one big infectious hangout. But why don't they do something like that? Because I think that's the coolest freaking idea ever. To send nanoprobes there, they can send them at a very, very high speed. We'll get back data within a decade.
It's definitely a cool idea, 100%. In terms of Proxima Centauri B being habitable, there are a few issues there as well. The planet itself is tidally locked to the star. So similar to how our moon is tidally locked to the Earth, only one side of the planet ever faces the sun, or the star, at the center. Also, the star Proxima Centauri, is a little bit temperamental. It's a red dwarf star, but it's very active. So it would not be very nice to live there.
You know, there would be a strip though, like a small strip between one side and the other that's going to be very habitable, probably as far as temperature range. But obviously, for life to take hold, it would be very unlikely that life would be, just like taking hold in that one little temperate zone, right? So, but
just like
what happens if maybe life? Yeah, exactly, on this little at the Terminator line. Yeah. But what happens if life did take hold at one time before it became tidally locked? And you'd find somehow. Can you find remnants with nanotechnology? I mean, I don't know what you look for. What the nanoprobes could actually find.
Yeah, I mean, carbon-based forms of life.
Well, what happens if we found like triple helix DNA or something? Would we automatically say, "Oh, this probably is extraterrestrial origin"? If we found life that actually can be comprised of a triple helix?
Steve, what you would find is a bathroom stall door with whoever's name on it was here. That's how we would know if there was life on that planet.
Yeah, they would genetically engineering us, right? I mean, I saw Prometheus. I know how it works.
There's an area that I find fascinating, and that is Nibiru. Now, not really Nibiru, not really Nibiru, but I want to ask about the real possibility of there being Planet 9, not the fake one, but the real possibility that there is another planet that's just so far out there that it's affecting the gravity of Neptune, I believe. And then they're theorizing now that that's what kind of caused Uranus.
It's okay, Carl. We know you're talking about the hidden planet Nibiru.
Uranus, yeah. To go the opposite way.
There's nothing hidden about Uranus. There's nothing hidden. Trust me.
Yeah. I want to catch myself because I will say Uranus just from joking with people about it, and I want to make sure that I get it right. So I have to stop myself and go, okay, Uranus. Make sure that you don't drag out the middle because that completely changes the what you're talking about. So anyway, Planet 9. Do you think that's a possibility, or is that just theoretical garbage?
I think it's a possibility. Mathematically, it makes sense because we've started discovering more and more objects further and further out from our solar system. We've doubled the size of our solar system in the last 2 months just by the discovery of 2018 TG 386, I think it's called, or the Goblin Planet, as it's more well known. You guys heard of the Goblin Planet?
What? No. What is the Goblin Planet?
No.
What?
Can't say that I have. Now you're just making shit up. Come on.
No, I'm serious. So there's this dwarf planet. Well, it might be a dwarf planet, but it's being classified as a dwarf planet right now. Nicknamed the Goblin because the astronomers who found it, they found it on Halloween in 2015. So it's officially called 2015 TG386. But yeah, it's a little icy dwarf planet. It's about 300 kilometers across. it has as its closest approach, at its closest approach rather, it is just close enough for us to see with telescopes, but its farthest approach is about 3,500 further times away than we are from the sun. So 150 million kilometers times 3,500. So very far.
Wow, I'm sending Dave a picture of it right
like
now
that.
so that we can see it.
Yeah, get a picture of it. Yeah. So essentially, we're finding more and more things like this, which have really elongated orbits. So if the sun's here, it's got a really big orbit like this, right? And so we believe that there must be something big further out that is causing this huge change in orbit like this. So mathematically it makes sense. Plus, with Neptune, it was discovered mathematically before it was discovered visually.
Right.
So
That's the greatest story.
We can't do it again.
That's the coolest story ever. And for some reason, they tried it with Mercury too, but it didn't work. And that's how that's what helped Einstein with the theory of general relativity, because they actually tried to find Mercury that way.
That's right. And Mercury, you can't use normal Newton's laws of motion because it is within the dip of the space-time gravitational trampoline, as I like to call it, of the sun.
Right. That's so cool how people are amazing. People are amazing how they're able to figure things out and put things together. I just think people are brilliant.
So I want to ask you, right? Well, I've got you here. What would you say to somebody who claimed? Now, I want you to take this seriously, even though it's bullshit, but take it seriously. What would you say to a person who thinks that they're some kind of science dude, which they're not, that claims that the Oort cloud is where blue giants are formed?
What?
There you go. That's all you need to say.
Put up the picture, Dave, real quick.
Yeah, there was somebody literally that thought that they made that claim, and when I called them out on it, they of course didn't provide any citations for that because that'd be ridiculously stupid. But yeah, that was a claim that the Oort cloud was where blue giants are continually being made. Yeah,
there's the goblin,
like stars. Blue giants. Yeah, there's the goblin. It's really obviously an artist's impression. That one, it just looks like a mere little dot in a telescope.
300 kilometers. That's pretty small.
It's beautiful.
It is very small. In fact, its error margin dips into asteroid levels of size. So 300 kilometers is like the minimum for it to be considered. Oh, maybe it's 200. It's about 300 or 200 kilometers is the minimum that you can have for it to be a dwarf planet.
Yeah, so Pluto's like 1,200 kilometers. So
we talked about this
that's
thing
way
in the
smaller than
Scientist
Pluto.
as well.
Pluto's little under 1,200 kilometers, so it's a fraction of that.
Yeah.
It'd probably been more. How big is Charon? I'm gonna look this up. Charon.
I want to say it's.
That's the moon of Pluto.
Our moon looks
600.
The moon, the moon looks obese by comparison to that thing.
Yeah, so Charon, the moon of Pluto, is
it's
only
the same
600
size as
kilometers.
Australia.
So it's 1/3 the size of Charon. That tells you how small it is.
The moon is what? The same size as Australia?
The moon is about. Yep. So distance from Sydney to Perth is about the same as the diameter of the moon.
Wow, that's crazy to think about. It's like I was thinking the other day, going back a little bit to that that submarine thing that's going to that they want to put in those bodies of water underneath the ice. Can you imagine what the what that would look like? If you were to take a submarine and push it in the ice of another planet, and you get down there, and there are organisms or life down there that you've never seen down here on Earth, and it's just kind of going about its business like nothing's happening. Like, what implications would that have for everyone here? There's this entire world going on millions of miles away. Like, it's a lot to wrap your head around sometimes.
I'm trying to think about. It would make a good movie, I have to say.
Yeah, Mer people.
Yeah.
Now that would be funny if there were actually mermaids down there. Okay, so last thing, black holes.
Yep.
Are we going to die because of them?
Nah, we'll be fine. We are pretty well away from the nearest black hole. The supermassive black hole at the center of our galaxy is very far away, so we're good. We're good. And plus, if our sun were to spontaneously turn into a black hole for some unknown reason, because it won't, if it were to turn into a black, ignore the fact that it have any light anymore, because it would have turned black, the Earth will still very happily orbit around that black hole, because it would have the same mass as the sun.
Speaking of Vsauce, and maybe you have some thoughts on this as well too, but he also did an episode, and I thought this was just unbelievable. But it was, what if the Earth, or what if the sun stopped shining? Meaning, if we were thrown out of our orbit, right?
Yes, I saw that one.
So we could survive for untold amount of years. Or there would still be life existing, not we specifically as people, but we would last probably a year, he said. And I was surprised that we could even last a year without the sun. But it would be us that goes.
You still have a lot of heat generated from the Earth.
Well, we would have enough to last for a year. And then it would.
But what would happen
if the sun were to turn off? That's a good thing for climate change, then, I guess.
But I mean, you're like you said. If the sun all of a sudden shrank down to about 3 kilometers and became a black hole, gravitationally, we would have we wouldn't notice the difference. But if it simply just vanished, we'd be thrown out tangentially to the path, whatever orbit, where we are in the orbit. So at 90 degrees, we're going to be ejected. That would suck. Well, how much of an effect do you think? What would it be like for us on Earth to experience something like that?
We would vaporize.
You get a year.
It would just like the inertia. No. But think about think about the forces. I mean, you're instead of going like this, you're thrown out. Would we notice any kind of force change because we're throwing on a direct line? I don't think we would notice anything, would we?
Nope.
I don't think we would.
I don't think we would, because we would be like, all of a sudden we'd just be noticing we're going in a different direction for some strange reason, right?
Yeah.
Well,
that
absence of light, the absence of light from the sun.
You'd have 10 minutes of light left from the sun. But the interesting thing to me was that the fact that plant life or single cell organisms would actually do better if that were the case. Because if you think about the organisms that are underwater, like in the Marianas Trench, where no sunlight reaches, those would actually thrive, because they're not reliant on. God, what is wrong with us today? They're not reliant.
I don't know. It's bad.
They're not reliant on sunlight. They don't use sunlight because it doesn't reach down where they are. So they would actually be more than okay.
I wouldn't worry more about a black hole, but a rogue neutron star or magnetron. That'd be far more likely and
hold on.
just as detrimental.
Rewind. Magnetron? What's a magnetron? Yeah. I haven't heard of that.
Magnestar. A pulsar that has a high magnetic field.
Magnetron.
I just haven't heard of it being told like that before. That's
cool. Well, magnetron is actually a tube, but a star, a magnetar, it's called actually. So a magnetar is a type of pulsar that has a very high magnetic field, and we're talking extremely high Gauss magnetic field for a magnetar, and because the magnetron is actually a type of a tube, like for microwaves use a magnetron tube, I believe, right? Because it produces
a transformer.
But so if a magnetar came within, like, even outside of our solar system, we would have huge changes in orbitals. But if it came anywhere near the Earth, literally it would be like everything got just it would just, all the ocean, all of us, it would just rise up and just be sucked right into it.
Nice.
Yeah, people in the live chat. Yes, magnetar. I corrected myself.
I believe a magnetron is a character on Transformers. I believe that's who Optimus Prime took on.
No, magnetrons magnetron's make sparks on lawnmowers.
It was a joke.
You have a resonance chamber in a magnetron tube, and you have these little things that the electrons go around that produces a very high produces magnet waves from the cavities. The type of vacuum tube is what it is.
And let me clear this up too. When I said that those creatures that are in the Mariana Trench, they're not reliable on anything from the sun. They don't use photosynthesis to survive. Not anything else.
Somebody said a magnetar could actually from hundreds of light years away. Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah, I'm being very, very loose right now. I mean, if it came within several hundred light years from us, it would be devastating. Same thing with what would happen right now, like if Betelgeuse had actually gone supernova and its axis was pointing to us. It's not. But I mean, it's 640 some odd light years away. If something that close produced a gamma ray burst, is it 400 light years? Okay, so 400 light years away. That's pretty relatively close compared to most stars, right? That goes nova, and so
right,
if the gamma ray burst was directly towards us at 400 light years, I think that would be devastating.
I think,
but it's not. It's not pointing toward us, so it wouldn't actually.
You mean like the axis actually? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, the axis was actually directed toward us, so we were right like a bullet. It was right to us. If Betelgeuse goes up, it's not pointed toward us, so it'd just be a cool lights display. But
it'd be so cool. I just really want that to explode in our lifetime.
That'd be but it wouldn't last very long, right? I mean, it'd be pretty quick. It'd be bright as like a full moon or something. But if you didn't catch it at the right time, it probably won't. I mean, the residual would be pretty good, but the actual explosion wouldn't last very long now, would it?
Yeah, the actual explosion is like that basically, and it gets like it's a huge pulse of light. Then it comes down, but then does go back up a little bit later. So it'll be visible during the daytime for a number of weeks, and it'll be the brightest star in the night sky for who even knows how long it'll be. But like, yes, the initial explosion will be quite quick, but it will be bright for a long time.
Have you caught yourself looking at Betelgeuse going, God damn it, God, go! Yep. I've done that before. I was like,
right now,
because if it did hundreds and hundreds of years ago, we would get the light now. So
that's true. I mean, like, I'll be honest with you, my window here points directly towards east, or more or less directly towards east, and Orion comes up in the east right now. So like, when the sun goes down, it's like, come on. I even have
Orion is my favorite constellation.
Do it.
I with a telescope, the looking at the Great Nebula in Orion, the M42 is one of the greatest things you could possibly ever see with the telescope. I mean, it's
it
inspired the Egyptians.
I showed a bunch of people the other night. It was beautiful.
It's awe-inspiring. Yeah, and if you can actually see like now see, I'm catching your guys' shit here. Trapezium. And you can
why
actually
do you
make
keep
out
saying
the 4
you guys?
stars.
She hasn't stuttered all.
You started it.
I know, but you said you guys.
Yeah.
I know. I've
just
definitely switched my words a little bit. Yeah.
She speaks funny because she's Australian.
Garage. Garage.
Yeah, please say that for us, please. Let the audience hear that. Garage. Garage.
Actually, my favorite word that. Go ahead, Kirsten.
Okay, so how you say it? So you have a garbage barge, right? Barge. Just
barge. A ship.
Yeah.
Barge.
Garage. There you go.
No, it's garage.
The best word that you guys and people from the UK say to me is aluminum. I absolutely love to hear you guys say
nuts.
Aluminum.
Okay, I'm gonna. Yeah, I'm going to go on. I'm going to go on record. I'm going to go on record so nobody ever can say this about me. The proper way of saying it is aluminium. However, I don't care. I will say aluminum because if I go into a store and ask for aluminium, they're going to be like, "What the hell are you talking about?" You know, I need.
Is that I need interpretation though?
I need some aluminium foil. They're going to look at me weird. No, aluminium is the correct way. No, it is. Aluminium is the correct way to pronounce.
I'm gonna make this right. I'll be right back.
So why would we?
But go into. Because it sounds weird.
Why don't we pronounce knife? Why don't we pronounce knife knife or Favre?
Aluminium is actually though as a scientific term though.
Tell me how many I's are in that. Read that word. And now read it.
Aluminum.
Thank you. No.
Oh, you're right.
Aluminium.
Yeah, no, I know,
Yeah,
I
you're
get that. That's what I said. I recognize it as aluminium. However, if you go into a store and ask for aluminium foil, they're going to be like, "This guy's an idiot." I'll give you an
It'd be
example. When I was working,
aluminum.
when I was working at
Aluminum.
Circuit City, and I had a person I was working with, and she had a thing about using the word fort, and what we would consider to be forte. So we say. That's not my forte, right? But she was a stickler for pronunciations, and in the French, you don't pronounce it as forte, you pronounce it as fort with a hard T, and in Americans we just butcher it, right? The word is actually fort, but if you actually tell somebody that's not my fort, they're going to think you're an idiot, even though you're properly saying it. So there are some times where it's probably best not to look,
Fair
if you
enough.
don't know what the hell you're doing, even when you do. But the word forte, that actually isn't what it means, or how it's pronounced. It is pronounced fort. Interesting, right? Well, there is a word
I
forte.
did
It means
have
to
a
increase
similar
in volume.
problem when I came to America. You know, because like, okay, what do you call it? Tomato sauce or ketchup?
What was the first thing you said? What kind of sauce?
Tomato sauce. Tomato
No,
sauce.
first of all, it's tomato sauce.
Have some...
Get your shit right. Tomato sauce. Tomato. No, but tomato sauce and ketchup are two different things.
Yeah, they're two completely different things.
Completely different things.
I just wasn't sure.
And you have tomato paste, which is
to
different too.
America,
You have tomato
like, "Can I have
paste,
some
tomato sauce, and
They're
ketchup.
like, what are you talking
Hold
about?
on, Steve. Go ahead, Kirsten. What'd you say?
When I came to America, I was like, can I have some tomato sauce? Like at McDonald's. And they're like, what are you what is this tomato sauce you're talking about? Then again, it might have been just that interaction we just had then as well.
All right, what is fry sauce? Kyle, what's fry sauce?
Fry. Oh, you mean like chips?
Fry sauce? You mean like
Chips,
oil?
Yeah. No.
Oil?
Fry sauce it's mayonnaise and mustard.
Oh, no. No.
Yeah. It's you know what's not actually bad, but I'll tell you what's weirder.
It's 2 out of 3 components of Thousand Island dressing, which is
there you go.
Ketchup, and mayonnaise. That's what Thousand Island is.
I had never had this before until I went to New England, in New Hampshire specifically, or Vermont. There was one or the other. I was in both, but they have vinegar there on the table, and I'm like, what the things of vinegar? Like, I'm like, what the hell is vinegar for? They're like, it's for your fries or chips, and it's like, you put vinegar on chips? What the hell's that? That sounds disgusting.
Yes,
Tried it, like,
chips.
this isn't bad.
It's malt
vinegar. I actually liked it.
Exactly.
I never tried it before. It was weird.
Tomato paste. Tomato sauce is over here is like
No.
That's a picture of aluminum on there.
Where's the extra
There you go. Aluminum.
No.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tomato sauce is like a base that you would use for if you were making tomato soup or a bisque.
I would not put tomato sauce.
No, tomato paste.
Taste are very different.
Tomato bisque.
Right. No, tomato paste is actually just a condensed version of the same thing. It's a very thick paste. So we have tomato sauce and tomato paste. They're two completely different things. Yeah, it's.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You don't have catsup over there or whatever it is. Catsup.
What?
Instead of ketchup. Who calls it catsup? That's a thing.
It's ketchup. I just say ketchup.
It's ketchup.
Yeah,
I know, but there's
yeah.
I
ketchup brand here.
Kirsten, what are the 5 mother sauces? We're gonna quiz you now. Your cooking skills. Do you know what the 5 mother sauces are? Yeah. Now he's a chef, so I'm gonna expect him to. But one of them is tomato sauce, right?
One of them is definitely tomato sauce, barbecue sauce, mayo.
That's good, but no.
You win.
That's good though. I like that. You know what? Barbecue should be a mother sauce, but it's French, right? But bechamel. You make a roux, then a bechamel, isn't it? And then tomato veloute.
What?
Holiday.
A bechamel. A bechamel is just a white sauce. It's just
but you start with a roux, don't you?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, you start with a roux. I actually you can make a decent white sauce. I actually like making white sauce. It's easier to buy it nowadays, but making it from scratch tastes better, I think.
Well, let's get back on track and wind down with another space question. One last space question.
Okay.
What is one thing about space, or something that you know that they've discovered, or a weird fact that the general public wouldn't know? Like, see if you can tell me something about space that's really cool that no one's heard of yet, or it's not widely known.
Okay. I have two things. Two of my fun facts
Cool.
that I like to talk about.
Cool.
So the first one is good fun and relate to rum and coke. So the first one is that there is a gas cloud at the center of our galaxy, or near the center of our galaxy, that because of what it's made of, it smells like raspberries and tastes like rum.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. There's a gas cloud at the center of our galaxy that smells like raspberries and tastes like rum.
And how many trillions of alcohol? How much alcohol is actually in that damn thing?
I don't know exactly how much, but there'd be.
But there are clouds
I
that are there
guess.
to have literally trillions of gallons worth of whatever it is of alcohol of some form. I mean, right? I mean,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. That's the
ethyl
first one.
too.
Sorry?
Ethyl alcohol.
Yes, that's what it's got in it. It's got ethyl formate, I think is what it is inside it. That gives it the raspberry and rum mixture. But anyway,
That's crazy.
Number 2, my second one. So, with our discovery of gravitational waves, we now have too few fingers to count all of them. We've now found 11 sources of gravitational waves. But in September last year, we saw, because most of them happened to be from black holes colliding. But in September last year, we saw 2 neutron stars collide. Now, when 2 neutron stars collide, they form lots and lots of heavy materials. One example of a heavy material would be gold. I think I may have said this before in an earlier episode, but I've definitely said this many times. It's my favorite thing to talk about. So in this collision that we had in September last year, these 2 neutron stars collided to form 10 Earth worths of mass. Sorry, 10 Earth masses of gold. Solid gold.
Whoa.
Floating around in space. 10 Earth masses, okay? Now,
What?
if you value that in today's current market, or even in September's current market, but it hasn't changed too much since then, that amount of gold has a value of $100 octillion. Let me just write that down.
Bill Gates could afford it.
$100 octillion for you.
You could never. You could never even spend that. Like, even if you wanted to, you could never spend that.
I know, right?
Oh no,
Well, let me just
dude!
write down
The all of civilization since the dawn of man couldn't spend that. Not even remotely so.
That's crazy. That's the way that works.
That's the closest thing to an almost meaningless number I've ever heard. Yeah, it's a huge number. It's
Whoa!
It's like
that is that number.
Like
that is octillion. That's crazy.
That's 29
wow.
zeros. Just FYI. Now that's not.
We'll have to do an episode just on LIGOS one of these days. Would you come back for that if you like to do an episode just how we detect and how they recognize 2 neutron stars fingerprint as opposed to like 2 black holes, and how they do calculate how much energy can be converted from the solar masses directly into gravitational waves, because that's a fascinating thing. I mean, literally what it's doing is taking solar masses and combining them, we know what to look for, and it produces like 3 solar masses of gravitational waves. How much energy is that? That seems like a ridiculous amount. Like, you can't even wrap your head around how much energy that is. The fact that these things happen, how long ago when did those neutron stars collide? How many billions of years ago was it?
Well, see, this is where the next part of my fun fact comes in. It's not even finished yet. So we're up to $100 octillion of gold, right? Now, if you guys have coins in America, right? Like coins, metal.
We do. Yes, we coins. Yeah, we're not that third world. Good grief. Yeah, we use coins. Wow.
Right.
We also have indoor plumbing too, believe it or not.
Hey, Australia doesn't exist. I can say this stuff. So we have this $2 coin. It's about 3 millimeters thick. Okay, if you had $100 octillion in $2 coins and you stack them flat on top of each other like this, you would get a stack that is long enough and tall enough to go from Earth over here all the way to where these two neutron stars collided and back again 5,000 times.
Wow.
That's insanity.
That's how big that
That's
stack of coins
insanity.
is. Yeah.
Is that the two-tone
Which
coin that
is-
has like silver in the middle and gold around the edges, or vice versa? You guys' coin. I remember in Australia there's this coin that had it was like two color, it had silver and gold,
Yeah.
although it wasn't really silver and gold. But I think that was the $2 piece.
Yeah, we don't make dollars out of coins unless it's a dollar with Susan B. Anthony on it.
Yeah, that was not a big hit.
Hold up.
Women and they're
Oh,
trying to get
$2
rights and
coin.
all.
Hey now.
It's just
I was
it's
about
just
to
because
say-
nobody likes to carry around change. That's they should have.
This is a very
that is pretty.
rare occasion where I actually have a coin. This is a $1 coin, but it's about the same thickness as a $2 coin. Maybe a little bit thinner.
See, NASA's shill. They're paying her. There's proof positive.
Yep, that's wild. Okay, so those were those the gold thing I think is unbelievable. I think that's
That's
amazing
a lot of
that
gold.
that can happen. I mean, that's
Yeah, I love that fact. It is so much fun to say.
Well, how to produce other things like platinum and things of that nature too, like most
yeah.
of the heavier elements, right? Platinum,
They
uranium,
made other
iridium,
stuff too.
yeah, gallium. I mean, a whole bunch of all these stuff. I mean, all the heavier elements come from neutrons or neutron collisions or supernovas.
Exactly. There's a really cool form of the periodic table where they have, not this one, but they have different color-coded things on each element, tell you where it would have come from. So most of the hydrogen and helium came from Bang. Most of the stuff, this little side of things, came from stars like our sun, fusing it in their cores. And then most of the stuff like down the bottom and near the middle, that's all neutron stars and stuff. Which is really cool.
That's
It's a cool
amazing.
little periodic table.
the takeaway from tonight is that people are absolutely brilliant in their abilities to just think about, the things we were able to figure out how things worked, gravity, things you can't see. It's just amazing. People are actually gravity's good. Physics is good. Trigonometry, all of that stuff is fantastic. However, the greatest invention, I believe we all can agree, is this right here. This is the biggest contribution.
I really thought
humanity.
you were going to say hair product.
Oh no! I mean, those are good too.
Hey,
But,
today's episode is endorsed by.
yeah, those are good too.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
I don't know why Apple doesn't hire you. I'm telling you, you're like the biggest shill for them. You're a diehard Apple fanatic.
They don't. That's the beauty. They don't need to hire me. They don't need. They don't need to hire anyone. They literally, they couldn't sell more phones if they wanted to. I don't think. I mean, it's the booming, so they don't even need anybody to speak for them anymore. It's just Apple. You just put that Apple logo on something and it'll sell. I'm gonna put it on the nuns. I'm gonna put it on the nun's forehead. You think that will get us copyright struck?
Copyright. I was gonna say that might get us infringed upon. Yeah, that might get us a lawsuit. Who knows? But gets us noticed.
Well, yeah, well, that's true. Well, Kirsten, thank you for coming back in. It's always a absolute pleasure to have you on. We look forward to having you and Debbie back very soon.
It's been my pleasure. Thanks, guys.
Absolutely.
We need to get Kirsten Astro Athens. So you have Astro Athens and AstroKirsten. That'd be, there you go. There's your podcast. You two.
Yeah.
That'd be
let me speaking of that podcast, this is your opportunity now to shield yourself. Let everybody know where they can follow you, listen to your podcast when it comes out, all that good stuff. Make sure everybody listens to Scientists.
Excellent. Yes. So our podcast, The Scientists, you can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and via email as well if you want to, at The Scientists. We're scientists with the sky instead of the scientists. We put out episodes every fortnight. We do take questions. We've had one person come on the show or send in a question via an audio question, so you can have your own voice on the show if you're lucky. So send us questions, we'll answer them, and subscribe. We want to get to millions of subscribers. In our very first episode, we want tens, hundreds, thousands, millions. We've got big
You will
dreams.
get it.
So come to us.
You absolutely will get it. I have no
You're gonna
doubt
be a
that you will.
superstar.
You will
We
get it.
know this.
Yeah, no doubt.
Mm.
That's cool though. The scientist's name is pretty creative, I must say. So good on you.
Thank you. Thank you.
By the way, for us over here across the pond, what do you mean when you say every fortnight?
Every 2 weeks?
Every two, yeah.
Yeah.
Monthly.
Sorry. Every 2 weeks.
Just make it short.
Fortnite is short for 14 nights.
Well, over here it's a game that people are going crazy about. So if you said that every fortnight you're putting out, every time they turn it on, they're going to be expecting a podcast. So just let you know.
Yeah, no, not on the game. Not on the game. Every 2 weeks, a new episode comes out. Our new episode will be coming out next week. So we'll be recording that on Monday.
Excellent.
It should be out by Wednesday or Thursday. Well, it'll be out next week.
And if you're watching this later on down the road, it'll be today, tonight, tomorrow, whenever, you can click down below and the link directly to that will be in the description. Okay, Steve, your turn to shill.
Oh, okay. So anyways, like I said, we're going to be having a rum and coke night tonight at 8 o'clock Pacific. You can find it on my channel, Steve McRae. If you haven't subscribed to me yet, on my channel, where we do kind of follow-ups on a lot of the stuff and more in-depth sciencey stuff with Landon Kurt Knoll every Sunday or every other Sunday. We've been doing DEF CON 1 Science, where we talk about some of the more technical aspects of a lot of this stuff with actual PhDs, scientists, and mathematicians. We have Dr. Kroon coming up soon. He's going to be back. Yeah, come join us tonight for Rum and Coke Night. A lot of people have already asked to join. It's going to be pretty lit. Free for all, drinking, and just partying, man. I'm not smoking, though. Not smoking.
Tobacco, anyway. Wink, wink.
Yeah, well, I'm telling you, I'm going to partake one of these days. I'm not going to smoke it because I don't want to start smoking again. But I'm going to find some edible or something that's a low THC. Because last time I tried an edible, I was high for 3 days. And it was the most miserable experience of my life. I hated it with a passion. So I don't want to ever do that again.
Okay, so 2 quick things before we close out. On Monday, I'm looking. Well, yeah. Let me do that first. Let me get your super chats. Lord
I've got
Rael
to pull up here if you're ready.
He's dropping the ball.
Well, Lord Rael?
That's up to the live chat. Chat, do you want me to do them in Lord Rael, or do you want just Steve to read them real quick? Steve, you can. That way we don't have to keep Kirsten waiting. You can go ahead and just read them real quick. And I'll do.
All right. So, Without a Crystal Ball for $2 says it's mostly a blog site for crappy blogs. Which site was that?
Tumblr?
I think we were talking about
Tumblr.
Tumblr.
Twitter. Not Twitter. Tumblr. Yeah, Tumblr. Okay. Yeah, I didn't like the way they did blogs, to be honest with you, Crystal Ball. Katie, I didn't. I thought it was a really dumb way they did their blog system. So I'm glad I got away from that and we actually went to an actual domain. So you're right. The way they did blogging was horrible. 0132132 $5. Will an umbrella protect me from the meteor shower, or do I need a helmet too? Better be safe than sorry. Go with the helmet. And by the way, Zero, you're probably always better off in society for yourself. Wear a helmet, just safety reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably many of us should actually. ESO, $2. Steve, BB guns kill. I did a research in Fallout. By the way, that wasn't his BB gun that got confiscated. It was his son's, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
But still, I mean, it was an air BB gun. It wasn't even like anything of a major consequence. It was a very, very low velocity air one. It wasn't even CO2. Like
they don't have a Second Amendment over there, though. So that's the
Right.
thing. They can do that over there because they don't have that protection in their constitution. So it's a little different in that country.
Yep. And Serbia, $2. Thank you, Serbia. He says, "What's your sign?" And I think he has a little fish there. So he's wondering if you're a Pisces.
Me?
Yeah. Well, I don't think he gives a shit about my sign.
Well, I mean,
What's your sign?
it depends on how you define it. I don't really believe in astrology, so.
You know what? See, I'm an Aquarian. We don't believe in astrology, so. Dun.
An
I'm
Aquarian,
Cancer.
as opposed to an Aquarius.
Cancer.
So okay.
Yeah,
if you
we got to do
go
it.
by the
We got to do a
dates-
show on that one day. What's that?
Yeah, if you go by the dates set by the Babylonians, I'm a Gemini. But if you go by the scientific explanation of what constitutes your star sign, which is where the sun is positioned in the constellation on your birthday, I'm a Taurus. So I guess really it's the mind of a Gemini happening right here. We'll see.
I like it. I like it. I'm crabby. I'm Cancer, which makes sense. So I don't believe in that none of that either. But there are people that take that very seriously here on YouTube, especially. There are channels that have.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they take it very seriously.
But here's the problem.
I mean,
all that's based
own.
around
Like,
12.
It makes you happy.
Yeah.
But that's all based upon 12 zodiac symbols, right? Everybody's there's 12 zodiac symbols. What about a fucus? A fucus is the 13th.
That happens on
right?
Saturday nights. Saturday nights, if you're lucky.
Yeah.
If you're lucky.
Please, a fucus. A fucus. But yeah, that's the 13th zodiac. So whatever. Sarah B at $2 more. Does the sun contribute to autumn? You're gonna have to probably wait till they get that autumn guy in to actually answer that question. But does the sun contribute to autumn?
As in the season autumn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which doesn't exist. It's a conspiracy.
I mean, don't you guys call it fall?
Yes.
I call it fall.
That's the
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
That's the correct term.
Mhm.
Yes, fall is the correct term.
I
But
call-
we make
I mean, it makes
make
sense.
exceptions from.
I'm not gonna lie.
Winter, spring,
It does make
summer,
sense to call it
fall.
because all of the leaves they fall down. So,
Yep.
Yeah.
but
See.
yes, the sun does contribute to the
Spring
seasons,
forward,
so
fall back,
yes.
right? That's daylight savings, right? Exactly. And I think
What?
that's all of them. Spring forward, daylight savings. You don't have daylight savings down there. Spring forward, fall back. You lose an hour, gain an hour. Yeah, which would I don't know why we still have daylight savings.
It's because
There's no
wait,
purpose
what about
for it.
what's your latitude? It depends on the latitude. So it's about gaining. It's about using what's the word I'm looking for? It's
Usable
about
light,
maintaining not visible light. Yes, but like daylight.
My latitude
having
is 33 degrees north.
productive hours. It's about maintaining productive hours.
Yeah, productive hours. Right,
Mhm.
right. But I'm 33 degrees north.
Okay, it's about the same as where
I'm
I
pretty-
am
I'm
south.
pr- I'm-
So
I'm a
people
couple hours
close to the
from the
equator. They
border.
don't have people close to the equator don't have daylight savings time because they don't need to shift. Excuse me. They don't need to shift their time to have productive hours.
Yeah, they get
Basically the same.
12 and 12 pretty much every day
Mhm.
at the equator.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
What about time zones? Why do we
Much
still
better
have
than
time zones?
Alaska.
Get rid of them.
Alaska, it
Get rid
sucks
of
for
time
Alaska up there with how they get their 6 months of dusk and then 6 months of actual daylight. That would drive me crazy.
That would mess with
Drive
your
me
mind, I
crazy.
think. Yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
a psychological weird to see that 6 months of the sun just kind of being in the same spot for the most part.
Okay, so that was all super chat, Steve.
Yeah, is it?
Okay, so on Monday the 10th, that's this coming Monday, we have James Lindsay coming on. I'm super excited to have him. I've been trying to get him on the show since about April, and he's just been terribly busy. I didn't know with what, but here recently, with him being in the news so much, we've all found out why he was busy, and he's the guy that wrote 11 articles that were sent to academic papers, and these were ridiculous experiments. They were all made up. It was all a hoax. None of it was real. But he was highlighting how something even absurd can sometimes slip through the cracks. So you have to be vigilant about what's actually, and more so speaks to the mind of some people in our society today. Like we expect things to be so bent sometimes that even something that just on its face sounds absolutely unimaginably ridiculous can get an award. One of them actually won an award, and it was a completely different or a completely made up paper. So he's going to be on to talk about that. He was recently on Joe Rogan's show. If you haven't seen that, you can go and watch that, so you'll be kind of up to speed with what that's going to be about. But it's a fascinating talk. And his name's James Lindsay. And then on the next day, we have A.F. Alexander. She wrote a book about the separation of church and state that is phenomenal. I read it. and you should too. I'll link that in the description as well. But she has a very, very, very cool presentation that she's going to be giving to us on Tuesday. So just check out for that. Any last words, guys? Parting with Kirsten, leave us with your favorite quote that you live by. That's what we'll close on. What's your quote that you live day to day by?
Dream bigger. That's it.
Very
Just
good.
dream bigger.
I
Very
like
good.
that.
Well, after one night of dreaming, we'll see you back here tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern, as always.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Good night.
Non sequitur. Your facts are uncoordinated.